Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Docs, and in this video, I'll be showing you how to make the electricity setup that I always use. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so this is how the setup looks. All you need to pay attention to are these branches right here. You can use those branches to branch out all the power that you need for your turrets, lights, or whatever you're using. For example, if we wanted to have an auto turret connected to the system, we'd simply branch it out, input the amount of power that we want. We want 10 power for the outer turret, and then we need one more because we're using one branch in between. Yeah. And also remember to put in 10 on the branch that you're using so that you branch out 10 power for your outer turret. And then you have the 10 power, and the remaining power is going through this branch up the chain. So you still have leftover over 87, around 87 power that you can then use for, let's say, ceiling lights or whatever else you want. Now, before I show you how to build this thing, I'm gonna need to explain to you how some of the electricity parts work, since most of the videos that I've seen on YouTube about electricity have some sort of misconception about the electricity items. Now, if you look at the batteries, for example, they have an 80% efficiency in being powered. What that means is, for example, if we were to have, let's say, an input of 100 power, like from solar panels or a windmill, and we were to connect it to our large chargeable battery, the amount of power that would be charged would be 100 times 0.8, which is 80. Now, if we were using 100 power from the battery, that would mean that we would be draining 20 power all the time from it. So in order to maintain the battery at the charge that it's at, we would need to divide the 100 that the battery outputs by 0.8 and get 125. Now, then again, we need a power source. There are two power sources in Rust: the solar panels and windmills. Well, there are also the generators that use fuel, but you don't really want to use those for your base. So the windmills are most often chosen option for big setups. Although the drawbacks of using windmills are inconsistent power. As you can see right now, it gives 40. This same windmill has at times been given 130 and so on. From what I noticed, by connecting the battery to a timer and running it for a full day and night circle, it outputs around 100 power, but it might go up and down, so be cautious of that if you want to use windmills. Then on the other hand, solar panels, they're actually quite underrated. I think it's mostly because people don't know how to properly use them in this sort of setup. Now I'm gonna explain to you how you should calculate the power input of solar panels. Basically, if you want 100 power, then as we said earlier, in order to charge a large battery, you're gonna need to divide 100 by 0.8. So you need 125 power. But then again, you need to take into the consideration that the solar panels are not going to be giving you power while it's night. The full day and night cycle in Rust is 30 minutes day and 10 minutes night. So if we divide 125 by 0.75, we're going to get the amount of power that we need to be outputted from the solar panels to give us 100 power to our battery. So we need 166.6 power. In other words, we need 9 solar panels, which would give us 180 power. Now, the branches. These are used pretty much in any electricity build that you're gonna see anywhere. They're a great source of electricity that, simply put, can split your source into two outputs: the branch and the power out. the electrical branch itself drains 1 power. So if you get 100 in it, the least it's going to branch out is 2, and then you have the power out. So as you can see, it would be 98, but it's 97 because the branch takes 1 power. Now, if we were to only have a power input of 2, it would all go to branch because the branch is prioritized. So if we were to put, let's say, 100 in here, then you can see that the power output turns to 0, and all the power that we're getting in is going out to the branch out. Also, another thing that I noticed by calculating the power drained from the battery and used throughout the system is that when you take power from the battery, and unless you connect it to a switch, smart switch, or a blocker, it's going to be draining at least 1 power. Now, in case of a branch, it's also going to be draining whatever you're putting in the branch out section. Like, that's just taken. So if we were to look at this, it's decreasing very slowly. But if we were to amp it up to like 1,000, so it takes all the power, now it's decreasing way faster. As you can see, the number 160, 158, 156, it's going down more rapidly. But if we were to turn it back down, it's going to go slowly once again, 150, and staying there for a while. 149, as you can see. So the power out isn't actually using the power until you connect it to, let's say, a turret or some sort of another electricity setup. So basically, power out is showing you the potential power you still have available. It's not actually using it. Okay, now that I've explained to you the basics of electricity, let's get into building this setup that I showed you here earlier. Okay, now to begin with, we're gonna need to place our power source. In this case, I decided to use solar panels because they're more stable, as they give you 20 power throughout the day if you place them correctly. Now, there are many misconceptions about the placement of solar panels, but as you can see in here, if you place them facing perfectly on north, you're always during the day going to be getting 20, except when the sun is rising and setting, then it's going to slightly decrease. But then on the other end, if you place it towards the south, even though it is pretty much out in the open in the sun, like right below it, if you look at it, it's not being powered or getting very little power, like little to no power. So basically, if you look at the map, I am slightly below the center of the map. So my solar panels need to be facing perfectly north. If I were, let's say, over here, slightly above the center of the map, my solar panels would be needing to face south, as you can see on the compass on the top. So I'm going to be placing 9 solar panels facing perfectly south. Now the great thing about solar panels is that you can stack them together, like this. They don't block each other. Then again, there's another way to stack them a little bit closer when you place them like this, let's say, where if you look at their, well, feet, so to speak, on solar panels, then you can get them a bit closer to each other sometimes. I don't know, it's not really working well for me this time, but you get the idea. Okay, how many have I got? It's 6. Okay, one more. Yeah, basically 9 solar panels. Now we're gonna need to place root combiners for those solar panels. Okay, I think this is gonna be enough. Okay, now you take those root combiners and you connect them to each other. All of them. Now you have those empty slots on each of those, except the last one. Always leave at least one empty slot on the last root combiner. If in case you want to expand later and add some more electricity sources, then you can just place another root combiner and connect it to the setup. Now we're going to be taking the inputs and connect them to solar panels. Okay, I'm done. As you can see, we have 180 power in the output right here. So the next step is to set up the battery charging element. For that, we're gonna place some branches. Of course, I'm here overusing all the branches and root combiners just to emphasize that this is very scalable. You can expand it so that you can have like 400 power and run it on farm, compound, and whatever electricity you want. So I take this power and I'm gonna connect it to the first branch. Now I'm gonna put the power out on the rest of the branches just to show you that you can later on use the branch to connect it to your power sources. Now, just like we calculated earlier, if we want to be using 100 power, then we're going to need to divide 100 by 0.8 and then by 0.75 if we're using solar panels. We need to divide by only 0.8 if you're using a windmill. You don't need to divide by 0.75 if you're using windmills. You only need to do that if you're using solar panels, but we're doing that here. So we get 166.6. Yeah, we have that in our output from solar panels. So having it here, we're gonna branch out 167. You always want to round it up to the larger number, so that your battery is getting charged enough so that it can power your system throughout the night when the solar panels are not giving you any electricity, and still remain charged and even eventually reach more charge throughout the time. Okay, now that we're done with this part that's made to charge the batteries, we're going to move over and create the part that extracts the power from batteries. Now we're doing all of this so that once our solar panels stop powering our base, let's say someone comes straight us and blows all of them up, then our batteries are gonna keep on charging our system and still be run for hours on end. The large batteries run for about 4 hours, while medium batteries run for 3 hours and small batteries for 15 minutes. So I recommend you use at least the medium rechargeable batteries if you want your system to keep on working when you're getting rated. Okay, now what we want is we want to go to the last branch and we want to connect the power out. Now what we want to do is we want to take the output from all the branches here and connect together to the one branch, just like we did with the branches at the top for solar panels. But now we're doing it for the batteries. Of course, we're only using one battery in this example. Then we take one of the inputs and we connect the battery to it. As you can see, the battery is right now outputting its power into the root combiners. So it's just as simple as that. Now we can move over and create the part right here that's basically gonna finish up the setup and allow us to work with the electricity. So in reality, you don't need to place a bunch of branches and root combiners like I do. You only need just as many as you're gonna use. So in here, I have the proper amount. I have one empty slot in case I want to expand later. In here, I could skip those two because they're not in use. I'm not charging any more batteries than this one. And in here, I can also skip those three since I'm not using more batteries to power up my system. Now in here, I can just use this one branch and power some turrets. I recommend you always place your turrets on the first branch, because this is the branch that's getting powered first. So if you run low on power, your turrets are gonna have the priority since they're the first in line. Then again, if you want to power multiple things, like let's say turrets and then ceiling lights, and then something else, have like a trap or something run it, then you're gonna need those branches above here as well, because they're gonna be powering each other. Then if you look right here at the power out section of the topmost branch, you're gonna see how much power you have left over. And this number, this tells you how much power you're not using from the battery. Because if you look at the root combiner that's outputting the power into this system right here, we're getting 100 power. This power goes to this branch and travels all the way through all the branches, powering each and one of them. So we can tell that the current setup right here is only using 12 power, because 100 minus 88 is 12. That means that we're not even fully using the 100 that we have right here, and we can use it for, let's say, turrets or something else by connecting it right here. Well, you can pretty much get the gist of it. This is pretty much ready. You can connect whatever you want to it, and hopefully it all goes well. Well, I might be making some more videos showing you guys how to make some traps with electricity, some remote controls, and so on. So if you're interested in that, hit the like, comment, subscribe, you know the stuff. This was Docs. See ya.